about that time, one of the younger kid comes out and waters the sand. I asked, what are you watering the sand over? They said, well, we're making the antiques. He goes over, takes the sand off, and pulls out a rusty blade. I mean, it was a beautiful rusty blade. It could have been 500 years old or so. He says, yeah. He says, and here we got these over here, and they scruffed them up and things, and we just, it was just absolutely, and they were selling them around the streets. He said, yeah, go down here, I'll show you. And they said, yeah, anything you want us to make, we can do it. And I said, no, that's okay. That was just another way that people earn a living in life, and they were prosperous. I mean, the American tourists that came across, they buy a lot of them. They were saying, "Oh, you Americans, you got money. And we went out the door. I'll never forget it because it was this very poor fellow comes up and he says, "I got 4 quarters." And I said, "How the hell did you get 4 quarters in Tangiers?" He says, "Well, I sold something, and somebody, and all they had was they tell me this is worth $1. And I said, yeah, it is in America. I said, I don't know if you can take it to a bank here. He says, the banks don't like me, or something along that line. He says, would you give me $1 for the quarters? And I said, I mean, $1 was a lot of money to me. I said, no, sir, I can't. He says, oh, no. He says, that's what all you Americans say. And stomped off as if I insulted him in some fashion. But it was, again, 4 quarters, $1. This guy's whole life is dependent upon a risky purchase like that or sale like that. We went on through Tangiers. There were some pretty crusty characters left over from World War II there. I think a lot of the detritus of society had gone down to Tangiers and Casablanca. I didn't quite get to Casablanca. I really wanted to. One of my favorite movies is Bogart, and I just kind of wanted to see it. Got to Rabat, which was a capital. I'd seen poverty then that I'd never seen. I mean, the outdoor toilets where there were just kind of a wall and holes in the ground over there. People starving in the streets still in those days. And the king of Rabat, we drove past his palace, which looked like a movie stage out of a barren land. Didn't do much for my understanding of what I thought life should be in this world. So the car broke down. We called a person to come fix it up. He says, well, we can't fix it, and if you leave it here, they'll arrest you, but we'll take it away for you. I said, this doesn't sound very good. This sounds like thievery. I think you think we're just dumb Americans. He said, no, we just think you can't get your car fixed anywhere else. Well, at that point, it was time to head back, and we didn't, we were going to drive, and we went back up to Madrid on the train, and we were kind of winding down. What the trip, as we went through each of those, taught me, though, is I wanted to know a lot more about how the world worked, how people made money, how they used it, how governments cooperatively did good things, how governments cooperatively did very bad things, the meaning of good and bad in the senses of these people. And I'd made up my mind that when I went back, I'd made the right decision about medicine. But I wanted to learn about how all these things worked, and so I decided to take an economics course. I'd taken one early on and liked it, and I really wanted to study it, so I went back to Bloomington. It took a couple months to get that all coordinated. I went back to New York. I damn near stayed in New York. There was one of the parting of the roads. But I had a lot of things back in Fort Wayne. I had to check on my mother and stuff, too. So, and I came. But I took then I went back to school, signed up for economics. They said, well, Mr. Moses, we're sorry, all your chemistry and physics and these things, those don't qualify as minors for an economics degree. I said, I'd like to have an economics degree. So, well, you only got 101 and you're senior. I said, it's going to work out too well, fella. I said, well, we're going to make it work. And He said, but all these minors don't fit. In those days, they had, if you had a major, it had a certain array of I said, okay, well, fine, just put them aside. I enjoyed learning. And so I was taking 201 and 401 at the same time. I mean, I was reading textbooks in order to get ahead enough. Loved it. I had 23 hours of economics in a single school year. Threw in enough philosophy and history to make the majors, and minors too. Enjoyed every bit of it. Most thrilling year I ever had. I was taking macro and micro and international economics all at the same time. Did well. I mean, grades were fine. It was thoroughly engaging and enjoyed the teachers especially. They were just much more fascinating to me than a chemistry teacher could be. I mean, we were studying international monetary files, stories between Germany and New Zealand and London, and how Maynard Keynesian economics, he really made all of his money, and he was a very rich man by the time he was done, entirely upon the machinations of currencies. Every time they did this, their international economics, it changed the ratio of the pound to the guild to the franc, and he would make money on things going up and down. And it was interesting to go through all that, and learned a lot of different ways that things are done. Not so much government, which I didn't worry about that much as economics, because I always felt that economics drives government pretty much. That follow the dollar has always been true and always will be. And you need to understand where that's going before you have a clear understanding of what's likely to happen. At the end of the year of that, I've now got my economics degree, and it is, for all practical purposes, worthless. There's no way to earn a living with an economics degree. I knew that going in. It was not a surprise. And I knew that I'd have to get a graduate degree of some kind. I wasn't sure what when I started, but it made sense to me to sign up for an MBA, Master of Business Administration, in finance, which I did. And I took it in Bloomington too. I had great teachers, enjoyed it immensely. I prepared, really geared myself to go into international banking. That was just a fascinating field. It worked pretty well. I actually had an offer from a bank called Mellon Bank in those days, which was out of Pittsburgh. And they had an international program that would take you to, you'd spend a year in London, a year in Hong Kong, a year in Beirut, which was a real city in those days, and a year in New York. And I interviewed going out there, and they were pretty solid. At the end of the year, my father was a home builder. And I decided I better take some real estate. I just ought to try to learn how real estate works and things. I know it makes money, but I don't really know too much how. Home building is not, by the way, one of the ways you make money in real estate. It's very cyclical. It's up and down. It's not something you want to join in any fashion. I mean, I was raised with families sitting in the living room negotiating whether they wanted to put carpet or tile in their hallway, and the wife crying if she didn't get what she wanted, and so that was not going to be my field. But I took a course, and they asked for a paper, and so I decided to do a paper on what was a relatively new concept in those days, apartments. That Fort Wayne was principally a homeowner community. I mean, it was a very high percentage of that, and very few apartments, and the ones that were kind of puny. My father had the home building crew, and he was thinking about that somewhat, and I did this paper, and it came out, you can make a lot of money in apartments. In fact, you'd have a nice life. So I went back to him and I said, look, Dad, I've told you I'll never come back into homes and things like that, but if you'll take your crew and we'll build apartments, I'd consider it. And he'd thought about it before, and he was just getting ready, thinking. And so I came back to town, and we built a complex in Fort Wayne called Wildwood Place Apartments, 200 units. They were new. It was before Three Rivers was built or any of those were built, and they were quite popular. They're all one bedrooms. Took me 3 years to build them all. My father, who was a long time, very good builder, taught me quite well, He said, I got a lot of confidence in you, Win. I think you can do this. And by the way, I'm going to